Before I begin, I would like to ask you all a question. Have you ever been lonely? I think all of us, at some point in our lives, have felt lonely. It could be your 10-minute wait at the bus stop, or it was your first day of college. It could be a rough winter, or it could be years of struggle. But to a certain degree, I think all of us know what loneliness feels like. Helpless, alone. Sometimes you could be with a crowd of people and you're still alone. Loneliness is silent, but it is louder than any horn in this world. Today I'm here to tell you about my story with loneliness. Just a couple weeks ago, it was my 10-year anniversary of coming here to the US from China. And on that day, I thought a lot about what happened in those 10 years. I remember I landed in Los Angeles, California on a beautiful evening. I could see the sun shining on me and my mother's faces. And the light, it was the light of hope. But that light was also the beginning of my road with no return. My family and I came to this country with one purpose, and that is to provide me with a better education. So in less than 2 months, I was enrolled into a local elementary school. My parents started a small business in a place that's about 2 hours away from where we used to live, and of course, without the LA traffic. Because both my parents had to work, and they wouldn't be back until very late, and they usually have to go out very early in the morning to pick up their employees, I was held responsible for myself. I had to walk myself to school and back, warm up food with a microwave that didn't always work, and most importantly, I had to cope with being alone. So, as a 9-year-old, I was thrust into independence and never looked back. At first I thought, well, it can't be that bad. I just go to school, make some friends, learn with everyone else, and come home and go on with my day. Easy. Just like every other day I had back in China. Well, true, but there was this one small problem. Back then, I didn't speak any English. All I could say was, hi, nice to meet you. My name is Feng Yiji. And when they respond, I wouldn't know what they were saying. And all I could do was stare back at them and give them an awkward smile. I remember the first day of school. All the kids were looking at me from all directions, and I didn't know how to react. I just introduced myself, and I didn't talk at all during that class because I didn't know what to say or how to say. The teacher knew a little Chinese, and she helped me with my first class. And then came recess. All the kids were told to go outside and play. As someone who experienced the Chinese education system, I thought to myself, God bless America, they let the kids play here. Woo! I was so excited, and I was ready to go and make friends. I saw a group of my classmates over there playing with a handball, and so I approached them and, make friends. But soon they realized that I didn't speak any English, and I didn't understand a word that was coming out of their mouth, so they picked up the ball and went somewhere else and played without me. Okay, cool. Didn't work out, just try it again, right? I saw another group of my classmates over there running around, playing a game of tag. That got me excited because I love playing tag. I used to play tag all the time back in China. I could run really fast, juke people, and bam, they're it. So obviously, I had to approach these American kids and show them what's up. At first, I didn't know what was going on. I just got with them and started running. I didn't even know who was it. And so soon, they realized that I was trying to join them, and they approached me, and they found out the same thing. I didn't speak English. I didn't understand what they were talking about. So they pointed at a direction and signaled me to go over there and leave them alone. At that point, I was pretty sad, and I was definitely frustrated until this one group of kids approached me, and some of them even looked like me. They figured out that I didn't speak English, but they figured out that I spoke Chinese. So they started saying things in Chinese that didn't make any sense, words and phrases, and they started laughing. And then they started saying things in English that I didn't understand at the time. Until later, when I learned English, I realized that they were just making fun of me. I thought they were trying to make friends, and I was genuinely trying my best to communicate with them as well. But man, kids can be really mean sometimes. I went home that day feeling horrible. No one wanted to play with me. No one wanted to talk to me. I could barely keep up with the class, and I didn't make any friends. Mission failed. I wanted to tell my parents everything, so I can even pout or whine about it so I could feel better. But when I walked myself home that day, all I could see was a small, empty apartment with 2 bowls of cold food waiting for me. I stayed up that night and waited for my parents to come home so I could tell them about my day. But when they finally got home at 12 at night, they were so tired that all they could do was hug me and sleep till the next day began. At that moment, I saw the stress and burden on their shoulders, so I learned to be quiet. I didn't want them to worry any more than they should. From that day on, I felt like my life was put on repeat. Every day, I get up with my parents already gone to work. I walk myself to school. I deal with the same thing every day. I come home, I warm up food, I do some homework, I hang out with myself, and I go to bed. If anything good happened that day, I will find a way to tell my parents, a note or something. If anything bad happened, I just sleep with them till the next day. Those kind of days went on for 3 years, and to date, it was the loneliest 3 years of my life. Now, there really is no point for me to tell you my story if all I wanted to do is make you feel bad. I'm here today because I want to share with you my ways of dealing with my circumstances and my loneliness. During those 3 years, I learned to choose, and I chose to dig myself out of that small apartment in Los Angeles, California, and wade through the loneliness that would drown me every single day. I didn't speak English, so I chose to work hard and push myself to learn. I remember I would watch the Garfield movies over and over again just so I can get the pronunciations right. Boy, I love that cat. I didn't have warm food when I get home, so I chose to learn how to cook. At first, the food I made would be either too salty or sometimes I would mix up vinegar and soy sauce. But, at least it was warm and edible, kind of. I didn't have any friends, so I chose to study and observe how the kids in my class played with each other. I learned their language. I learned their culture. And sooner than expected, I was in a game of tag. I discovered the power of decisions. And I also realized that the circumstances and the loneliness that I was subjected to were just things in life. I have no control over that. But what I do have control over is myself and my decisions. Yes, I was alone. But my decisions made me feel less alone and enriched me and helped me grow during that time. To be or not to be, I chose to be. Just about 5 months ago, I was permitted to stay on campus over the winter because the COVID situation in LA was increasingly tense and my family was impacted and stressed. I decided to stay on campus so my family wouldn't have to worry about feeding a 6'2", 240-pound man as well as his 20 meals throughout the day. Initially, I was glad that I get to stay here at Middlebury. It's a gorgeous town, and I made friends with a small group of people that I was on campus with. We had our fun and joy. Snowball fights, dinners during Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we also watched the Super Bowl together. It was nice, but nevertheless, I felt alone. During the winter, I went through some of the most stressful moments in my life. My parents almost got divorced. My grandpa in China was hospitalized. And as cherry on top, I went through a breakup. Those things hit every soft spot on my heart, and it was hard to open up to your newly made friends about these personal issues, so I dealt with them myself. During that time, I tried to stay in touch with my family as frequently as possible, solving conflicts left and right. When I made those calls, I could feel my heart being torn apart. I could feel exactly what they were feeling, if not more. And yet, I had to tell them that I'm okay, so they have one less person to worry about. It was rough. And in the midst of that, I asked myself, will things be different if I were with my family right now? Would I be able to alleviate the stress and tension between my parents because COVID damaged our financial income? Would I be able to help my grandmother feel better by holding her hands and tell her that everything will be all right? And would I feel less heartbroken because I am with my family? Those questions haunted me as my stress and homesickness grew, until one day I received a video call from my grandmother, and she told me that my grandpa was home and safe. She said the texts and calls and the smiles that I give her hope and made her feel better, and also give my grandpa hope. I saw her smile, and she said she was proud of me. I had not shed a single tear during that winter until that moment. And with those tears of joy and reassurance, I remembered the loneliness and stress caused by COVID are just things in life. Just like the first 3 years of my life here in the US. They're not within my control. But what is within my control are my decisions. When I persistently called my family to make sure that everything was okay, as much as it hurts me to do so. When I wrote a letter to myself and encouraged myself to stay strong for me and for my family. I chose not to be swallowed by my circumstances and be eaten away by the stress and anxiety. Instead, I chose to stay and hold myself together, no matter how painful it was. I am sure all of us went through our own paths and treks during life and in this pandemic. And perhaps these treks are still going. Perhaps we were alone, and perhaps we're still alone. But please, don't give up. Don't stop trying. Don't stop choosing to be better. Because the sadness, the pain, and the loneliness, they're only temporary. Your decisions, actions, and determination will carry you towards the light. If there's one thing I want you to remember from my TED Talk today, I hope it'll be this quote by Stephen R. Covey. I am not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decisions. Thank you very much.